Evelyn Thorne's world was a mosaic of quiet joys and profound pride. The centerpiece of this world was a sun-drenched photograph on her mantelpiece. Two young men, her sons, with bright, honest smiles. Liam the elder, with his thoughtful eyes and academic laurels. Caleb, the younger, a whirlwind of charisma and athletic grace. They were her masterpieces, her two reasons for living a life defined by hard-fought sacrifice and unconditional love. She had raised them alone after her husband's early passing, pouring every ounce of her being into shaping them into the kind of men she believed the world needed: kind, successful, and good. And for 25 years, they had been precisely that. Liam, a software engineer at a prestigious tech firm, was a man of logic and order. He was a creature of habit, preferring a quiet night in with a complex coding problem to a loud party. He had always been a protector, the first to lend a hand, the one who fixed her broken faucet without being asked. Caleb, a marketing executive, was his foil social butterfly, who could charm a stranger in an elevator and make them feel like a lifelong friend. He was a master of empathy, or so she had always believed, the one who could read a room and know exactly what to say to lift spirits. Together, they were a perfect balance, her pride and joy. The first crack in her perfect mosaic was so small, she barely registered it. It was a late-night phone call. Evelyn was dozing on the couch when her landline rang, a rare occurrence. It was the police. They were calling about a minor incident. A few kids had been vandalizing a local park, and her sons' names had come up. The officer on the other end was apologetic, saying it was likely a mistake, that the names were common. Evelyn, of course, agreed. Her boys were well past their mischievous years. She dismissed it as a clerical error and went back to her quiet life. The incident, a faint smudge on her otherwise spotless view of her children. But then came the whispers. A string of disappearances began to plague their affluent, quiet suburb young women, all around the same age, all with similar profiles. The news was filled with frantic parents pleading for information. Evelyn, a member of her community's neighborhood watch group, listened to the local gossip, her heart aching for the victims' families. She often brought it up to her sons, asking them if they'd heard anything. Liam would simply shrug, his eyes fixed on his laptop screen. "It's a big city, Mom. Things happen." Caleb would offer a more empathetic response, a sad shake of his head. "It's awful. I can't imagine what those parents are going through." Their reactions were so normal, so expected, that Evelyn's nascent concern was always soothed. It was a testament to her faith in them that she never once connected their calm demeanor to the tragedies. How could she? They were her boys. The second crack in her reality was a small, cold detail. One evening, while tidying Liam's room, she found a peculiar item tucked away in his sock drawer. It wasn't a sock. It was a small, ornate, silver locket. A woman's locket. Evelyn, her curiosity piqued, opened it. Inside were two photographs. One of a smiling young woman she didn't recognize, and another of a man with his face blurred by a fingerprint. She felt a shiver of unease. It wasn't like Liam to keep something so sentimental. She put it back, her mind racing. Who was the woman? Why was the man's face blurred? She quickly dismissed her paranoia as silly. Maybe he had a new girlfriend. But when she asked him later, he simply said, "Oh, a client gave it to me. Some kind of antique. I forgot all about it." His eyes, for a fleeting moment, seemed cold. A trick of the light, she told herself. The third crack was Caleb's newfound interest in security systems. Her charming social son, who had never shown an interest in technology, suddenly wanted to install a state-of-the-art system in her home. He insisted it was for her own protection, given the recent events. He was so persuasive, so caring, that she agreed without a second thought. She loved that he was so concerned for her safety. She didn't question why he also insisted on setting up a separate server in the basement, or why he was so meticulous about every camera's blind spots. And then, the news reports escalated. The disappearances were now being called a serial crime. A pattern had been established. The police had a theory. The victims, all from similar backgrounds, had been approached by two men. One was described as quiet and logical, the other as charismatic and charming. They were lured into a conversation, and then they were gone. The police sketches, while vague, sent a tremor of recognition through Evelyn. One looked like her son Liam. The other, with a broad, confident smile, looked like Caleb. The drawings were so generic, so common, that Evelyn dismissed the resemblance as a cruel coincidence. She laughed to herself, her heart aflutter. The two most loving, kind-hearted men she knew being compared to monsters. It was absurd. But the seed of doubt had been planted. It grew and blossomed into a grotesque, thorny vine of suspicion. Evelyn began to observe her sons. She noticed how their conversations would stop the moment she entered the room. She noticed the way they would sometimes look at her, not with love, but with a strange, detached calculation. She noticed their hands, always clean, but with an odd, meticulous neatness under the nails. She noticed their car, a luxury sedan, always perfectly clean, and a strange, faint metallic scent that lingered in the garage. One night, unable to sleep, she did the unthinkable. She went into Caleb's room. She was looking for nothing in particular, just a shred of evidence to put her mind at ease. She went through his drawers, his desk, his closet. Nothing. Just expensive clothes and gadgets. She was about to leave, her heart sinking with a mix of shame and relief, when she noticed a loose floorboard near his bed. It was a secret her boys had shared since they were children, a place where they would hide their treasure. Her heart pounded as she lifted the board. What she found wasn't a treasure. It was a plastic bin, small and unassuming. She opened it, her hands trembling. Inside were a series of photographs. They weren't family photos. They were a horrifying gallery of the missing women, each with a different date stamped on the back. The dates corresponded exactly to the news reports of their disappearances. Beside the photos were meticulously organized files, each containing a woman's name and a disturbing log of her life, her routine, her friends, her family. A chill that had nothing to do with the cool night air crept up her spine. Then, she found the journal. It was Liam's. She knew from the neat, precise handwriting. It was not a journal of a kind, thoughtful man. It was a chilling log of their atrocities, a cold, clinical account of their heinous acts. The language was devoid of emotion, a psychopath's ledger. He wrote about their projects with a sickening detachment, about managing their assets, and about optimizing their user experience. He spoke of their victims not as people, but as objects, as problems to be solved. He even mentioned their motive, or lack thereof. "We don't do this for the pleasure of it," he had written. "We do it because we can. Because it is the ultimate expression of control. and because it is the ultimate test of our efficiency. The locket she had found was for a project he had completed. The metallic smell in the car was a cleaning product he had developed to be untraceable. The security system was not to protect her, but to ensure that they had complete control of her home and anyone who entered it. Her boys had been playing a game, and she had been the unsuspecting audience. Evelyn's breath hitched in her throat, a wave of nausea washing over her. She stumbled back, the box falling from her hands, its contents spilling onto the floor. The horrible photographs of smiling, hopeful faces stared up at her. The journal's chilling words seemed to echo in the silence. It wasn't a nightmare, it was real. A floorboard creaked behind her. She froze, her blood turning to ice. "Mom," Liam's voice was calm, a little surprised. "What are you doing?" Evelyn turned around slowly. Liam and Caleb stood in the doorway, their faces masks of shock. Caleb's charming smile was gone, replaced by a cold, appraising stare. Liam's thoughtful eyes were now flat and empty, like a shark's. "I know," she whispered, her voice a thin, fragile thread. "I know what you are." Caleb stepped into the room, his movements graceful, like a predator circling its prey. "Know what, Mom? Did you lose something? We can help you look." "Don't," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "Just don't. I found it all." Liam, ever the logical one, closed the door behind him. "Caleb, this isn't ideal. She's seen the files." He looked at her, and for the first time, she saw no love, no warmth, just the clinical assessment of a problem. "We'll have to, take care of this, no." She screamed, a primal sound of horror and grief. "You're my sons, how could you do this?" Caleb's eyes narrowed. "Don't be dramatic, Mom. We did what we had to do. We're just like Dad in a way. He was a master of his domain, we're masters of ours." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low, chilling whisper. "We've been protecting you, Mom, from everything. From everyone. You live in a dangerous world, and we've made sure nothing can touch you. We've made you safe," she choked out, her gaze fixed on the photographs on the floor. "You've killed people. My beautiful, loving boys. You're monsters. Liam's voice was a soft, detached hum. "We're not monsters, Mom. We're architects of control. We build order out of chaos. It's a skill, like Dad's business. You're proud of us, aren't you? You raised us to be successful. This is success." The sheer audacity of his statement, the twisted logic, snapped something inside Evelyn. She wasn't their mother anymore. She was just another project. Her horror turned into a cold, determined resolve. She had to do something. "Get out of my way," she said, her voice shaking but firm. Caleb laughed, a harsh, unnatural sound. "Where would you go, Mom? You can't go to the police. They'll never believe you. And even if they did, you'd be abandoning us. You can't do that, can you? You're our mother, you love us." He was right. The boys were counting on her love, her maternal instinct, to keep her silent. They were certain she would protect them, no matter what they had done. It was the only shred of humanity they had left, and they were using it as a weapon. But Evelyn wasn't just a mother. She was a woman who had spent a lifetime fighting for what was right. She had raised these men, but she had also raised them with a conscience, or so she had hoped, and now, she had to act on her own. "I don't know who you are," she said, her eyes welling with hot tears. "You're not my boys. My boys are good." Caleb's face hardened. He lunged for her, but she was faster. In a burst of adrenaline, she kicked the plastic box at him, sending the horrifying contents flying. As he stumbled, she grabbed a heavy porcelain lamp from a nearby table. She swung it, not at him, but at the window. The glass shattered with a deafening crash, a siren of her desperation. "You're making a mistake, Mom," Liam said, his voice now flat with cold fury. "You're the ones who made the mistake," she said, her hand reaching for her phone on the desk. She fumbled with it, her fingers clumsy with fear. She hit the speed dial button, the one she had set for emergencies. 911, a calm voice answered. "What's your emergency?" "My sons," she sobbed into the phone. "They're psychopath killers. They've been killing people. They're here. They know I know." The two men stood frozen for a moment, the shock of her betrayal evident on their faces. They had so completely misjudged her. They had believed her love was a weakness, a blind spot they could exploit. But they had underestimated her. They had not counted on her sense of justice, a sense they had so cruelly and utterly lacked. Caleb made a move toward her, but Liam stopped him with a firm hand. "No," he said, his voice filled with a chilling finality. "It's too late. The call has been made. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out." He looked at Evelyn, a flash of something in his eyes that was not love, but a twisted kind of respect. "You were an interesting variable, Mom. You were stronger than we thought." Evelyn didn't respond. She just held the phone, her body shaking, as she listened to the sirens wailing in the distance. A sound of both rescue and profound, soul-crushing loss. The two young men who had been her life, her pride, her every reason for being, were now being hunted. In the days that followed, the story broke like a tidal wave. The media descended on their quiet suburb, their home, their lives. Evelyn, a woman of grace and dignity, was now the center of a national scandal. She gave her statement, her voice a hollow whisper, detailing the horrors she had uncovered. The evidence was irrefutable. The police found the buried journals, the secret rooms, the meticulously planned files. Her sons were arrested without a fight, their faces impassive as they were led away in handcuffs. A chilling calm in their eyes that only a true psychopath could possess. Evelyn was left to pick up the pieces of a life that had been shattered. She had lost her sons in a way no mother should ever have to. They weren't gone. They were monsters she had inadvertently raised. She was a hero to the public, a woman who had done the impossible, the right thing, but she didn't feel like a hero. She felt like a mother who had lost her children forever. She had done her duty, but in doing so, she had destroyed her own world. Her perfect mosaic was in ruins, its shattered pieces reflecting a truth too horrifying to bear. And as she looked at the empty spaces on her mantel where the photograph of her beautiful smiling boys once stood, she finally understood the depth of a mother's grief. A grief so profound that it was as much about what was lost as it was about what had never been there in the first place.